They're almost like a Pokemon. Because, like, they get... Because, like, they get their name from the noise they make.
Oh, and it glows with its emotions. It's a little psionic mood ring. There's so much. Hi, I'm Emme.
And I'm James.
And welcome back to the Bestiary Monster Manual A through Z. And James, what are we talking about today?
It's possibly one of Emmy's favourite things in the entire world. It's the humble FLUMPH.
It's the FLUMPH! It's FLUMPH Day! Oh my god, you guys. Okay, I know this
If you can't tell, Emmy's been quite excited for this one for a little while.
Just a bit, just for 55 episodes now. I've been so ready. I've been so excited to get to F. You guys, the FLUMPH is weird, and I love them for really obvious reasons, which we're going to detail now, because they are the cutest animal in D&D.
Floating, squid-like, telepathic, anarcho-communist hippies, which might seem like an odd description, but it'll make sense in just a moment, I promise. They dwell in the Underdark. They float around, feeding off the good thoughts and emotions of creatures that they encounter. They are incredibly pure and good and adorable.
They are. I mean, let's start straight with the art. Let's dive into this. I mean, it's not inherently cute.
I mean, it's weird looking.
It's weird looking. They're kind of odd. They're these flat white discs here. Its mouth is on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's got these large tentacles that they do hit with some acid. They do actually pack a wee bit of a wallop. This particular one is apparently not feeling a lot of emotions because it's just a basic white color, which is usually what it's feeling when it's just kind of hanging out.
Like its default.
This is just its default colors right here. It's very clearly in the midst of conversation. It's putting some of its tentacles to its face like it's excited to see you. Oh my goodness, welcome to my cloister.
Which is the collective noun for a group of FLUMPHs. It's the name given to their little complex societies where they have no leaders and everybody just contributes in their own way.
No, they're little telepathic psionic creatures. So, like James was saying, these guys are like many psionic aberrations that you meet in the Underdark. They don't feed on stuff. They don't have any prey. They don't eat bugs. They don't eat small animals. They feed on thoughts. And they're all telepathic, so they all link together and live in happy little cloisters where they all commune together. Despite being pretty intelligent, I mean, this guy is a challenge rating 1/8 with a 14 intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do particularly a lot with that because they're around many very, very intelligent creatures. They have a lot of complex knowledge, but they aren't particularly doing anything with that.
Yeah, I mean, it describes in the Monster Manual how they have deep and intimate knowledge of religion, philosophy, mathematics, many other topics as well. But they don't build a civilization on it or anything like that. They have no desire for power or to dominate or anything like that, any of those kind of unpleasantnesses. They just float around doing their thing and enjoying the good thoughts and emotions of other beings.
And they're especially prone to actually go up to adventurers. So if you have a good aligned party, or even just a non-evil aligned party, they're very likely to come find you. Because a lot of the things that do live in the Underdark tend to be unpleasant. There's a lot of scarier societies that tend to hang out around there. You're going to see aboleths, you're going to see mind flayers, you're going to see any of the Gith hunting those things. You're going to, good lord, you're going to run into drow. You're going to run into just societies that don't necessarily mean well, and the FLUMPH means well, so that's all the food it gets, and it makes it sad. And so if it finds a good set of adventures, it'll just come hang out with you because you're not a jerk.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's just going to float on over to you. They move, by the way, by using little jets of air to propel themselves through the air, which is where they get their name from, because that is the sound they make. They just kind of go flump, flump, flump. And yeah, one might just show up and be like, "Hi, you're nice."
Yeah, let me tell you things. And this guy, we talk a lot about monsters you're probably not going to fight in the monster manual. This guy is like the obvious, you're not going to really fight a FLUMPH unless you're a jerk. But they're very likely to actually give you information on your enemies. So if you're down there looking for someone in particular or trying to avoid an area in particular, also terribly likely, the FLUMPHs know their way around. So they're going to probably, just for the sake of enjoying your company, tell you everything about what's going on in the immediate vicinity.
And yeah, coming back to the idea of probably not going to fight these guys, they're not exactly defenseless. They can deal some acid damage with their tentacles. They have a once-a-day ability, which is a stench spray, which is essentially a saving throw versus not really a lot of damage. It just says that you smell bad for a while if you fail the save. So its main defense mechanism being to fart at you and then run away.
Yeah, and that's most likely what it's going to do. If you try to fight it, it's probably just going to disappear into the Underdark, and it's much easier for it to hide from you than anything else. It's actually pretty aware of its surrounding. It has the ability to sense you, but you can't sense it, so you can't find it telepathically if that's something you're trying to do. It can't really speak with its mouth. It only speaks telepathically. So it's probably just going to leave. It's vulnerable to psychic damage, which again just comes back to the idea of don't be mean to the FLUMPH.
Being mean to it hurts it.
It's vulnerable to meanness.
I have to say, when it comes to its vulnerabilities and deficiencies, possibly my favorite feature of the FLUMPH, you can just flip it upside down and incapacitate it. So if it ever gets knocked prone, it says to roll a die, any die, and if the number is odd, it gets flipped over onto its head, I suppose, onto its back, and is incapacitated. So you can kind of just turtle it. Yeah.
They're too pure. There's so much. I can't with these guys. I know that these are an old monster. These guys are a very classic D&D monster. If you know more about the history of the FLUMPH, please tell us in the comments down below, because I know I personally am just dying of curiosity. I've seen some old art where they've just kind of evolved from floating squid into slightly more detailed floating squid.
In terms of their creation, or because you kind of think of these guys all in all, and you're just who came up with this? This is weird.
It's so odd. Where did you come from? And I want to know who thought of this, and what person was thinking that we needed to insert some comedy into the Underdark, because that's very clearly what these guys are. If you're running into a FLUMPH or a cloister of FLUMPHs, it's not going to be a serious encounter. It's gonna be goofy and adorable and ridiculous and probably kind of odd. These are still aberrations. They're still really not from this material plane of existence. Either they're from, and I don't have the origins of it on hand, please help me out. They're either from the Underdark and suffused with that energy, or they're from one of the far realms or another plane. I don't know, but they're not from around these parts. So they're weird and kind of alien and adorable.
Possibly one of the best little bits of advice you can get in the monster manual. Here and there you get notes from adventurers or researchers or whatever. Very simple one here from X the Mystic. First rule of dungeon survival: trust a FLUMPH. Thank you so much once again for joining us here at the Adventurers Pack for the Bestiary. Do you know anything about how FLUMPHs came to be, where they're from, who came up with the idea, when were they first introduced to D&D, what edition? Let us know down in the comments. And While you're there, you can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There you will also find links to our various social media, including our Patreon. Many thanks to our patrons. We love you very, very much, and this is what we do, and it is thanks to you that we are able to continue doing it. Here are some other videos that you can check out, and join us next week when we're going to be looking at the Fomorian.